But he was also legendary for his personal meanness, the stingiest rich man I have ever known, according to one contemporary. Spender, too, had first-hand acquaintance of Fleischmann's parsimony. When his wife had borrowed a dime from Fleischmann to make a telephone call in a restaurant where they were dining, she had been urged, in all seriousness, to repay it. Junkie, as he was known, didn't forget his debts. The dime was certainly Junkie's, but the money he had been dispensing with such public generosity since the early 1950s was not. It was the C.I.A.'s. Fleischmann was simply a conduit, part of the famous pipeline that was pumping money to the Congress for Cultural Freedom and a reservoir of other organizations which served the US government in its covert battle for ideological supremacy in the Cold War.
Yeah, coming from where I'm coming from, man. Hustling was the only way we knew to make it, man. You know, we looked up to the drug dealers, man, and somehow I was fascinated by the pretty cars, fine bras.
All right, peace. So we're gonna jump right into this. This video is old, old TV airing on C-SPAN, Book TV, as you can see. The channel is the Memory Hole, as you can see, and this is the video. If you want to watch this whole video in full, come here and check it out. I'm just gonna show you some highlights so I can, prove a point or what have you. Now, you heard at the beginning she was talking about a rich man who was cheap, well, supposedly rich man who was cheap, but all he essentially was a front man for the CIA, and he was funding programs that affect the culture of society. And the that's not a corporation. The thing he worked, the advocacy group, there you go. He funded was called the Congress for Cultural Freedoms, right? And it's funny because when I Googled this, the first thing they reference is her, and she just happens to be the person who I'm listening to. I was like, damn, that's crazy. I guess that's a coincidence, but maybe it's not. She probably just one of the leading investigators of that particular topic. But anyway, this Congress for Cultural Freedom was an anti-communist advocacy group founded in the 1950s. Was active in 35 countries. 1960. And here it is. Here's the point of the video. In 1966, it was revealed that the CIA was instrumental in the establishment and the funding of the group, as you heard her, and you're gonna hear a little bit more in a second. And the Congress aimed to enlist intellectuals and opinion makers in the war of ideas against communism. Now I want you to understand what I'm talking about, what I'm saying here. The CIA funded a group of intellectuals and opinion makers, and you're gonna see here as you watch the rest of this video, artists and entertainers, okay, to affect culture.
The CIA had, from its inception in 1947, alighted upon culture as one of the central theatres of the Cold War. It was the secret Maecenas, the crypto patron behind thousands of books, literally. I think its backlist runs to over 1,000 publications of books in which it was wholly or partially involved, and scores of magazines, congresses and concerts, art exhibitions and seminars. At the close of the Second World War, the United States, the one outright victor, had suddenly found itself a superpower. Needing a culture to match, it stared over the wire at Russia, which had pursued intellectual politics ever since Catherine the Great, and set about acquiring worldwide intellectual admiration and support. As the Cold War froze and ideologies divided, the US government, through its intelligence and espionage arm, poured huge resources into a cultural propaganda campaign. A central feature of this campaign was to advance the claim that it didn't exist. The CIA was, in effect, acting as America's hidden Ministry of Culture.
All right. Now, why is this important? Because when I did this video years ago, 4 years ago to be exact, and it's about how the CIA is influencing the rap game, right? People would say, now why would the CIA care about rap music? Okay, now I want you to understand, this is what they do. Okay, they attempt to influence the culture. You influence the culture, you influence the mind. Control. Mind control. You understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. But here's the proof that they do this, that they've done this, and this is all they've been doing. So you shouldn't be too far-fetched for you to understand that they would do it to you too. Okay, with these people. Now you want to watch this video to get an understanding of what I'm talking about there. But let me just go on here with her and what she's saying. Okay, so Pete.
The centerpiece of the CIA's Kulturkampf, or cultural struggle, was the Congress for Cultural Freedom. Established in Berlin in the summer of 1950, the Congress was an apparently spontaneous alliance of intellectuals and artists committed to demonstrating the fallibility of the Soviet mythos and the superiority of Western democracy as a framework for cultural and philosophical inquiry. Its membership read like a who's who of the éminence grise of the period. Julian Huxley, Mircea Eliade, André Malraux, Guido Piovene, Herbert Reed, Thornton Wilder, J.P. Narayan, Hugh Trevor Roper, James T. Farrell, Raymond Aron, Igor Stravinsky, Ignazio Silone, Roberto Rossellini, Willy Brandt, Ernst Reuter, A.J. Ayer, Herbert Reed, Malcolm Muggeridge, James Burnham, Sidney Hook, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., Arthur Koestler, Mary McCarthy, Diana and Lionel Trilling, Norman Thomas, Upton Sinclair, John Steinbeck, Alan Tate, Robert Penn Warren. The list is endless. Sorry, it is endless. I've just realized it goes on and on. It even features Jackson Pollock, though he was probably drunk when he joined.
Okay, so you heard all those names. Now, I don't know most of those names, honestly, but that last one I caught is the only one I really known was Jackson Pollock, who was an artist. So you understand, he's a legendary artist, and in history or what have you. But he was a CIA, not agent, but a asset. That's what they call him. Oh man, I ain't gonna go there right now. But you heard say Jackson Pollock was another one. I think pretty much you'll know him once you see his art. Hold on, see this abstract art, motherfucker throwing a whole bunch of paint on the wall and calling it art, right? And living color, right? That's Jackson Pollock. Okay, so I'm showing him. I'm using him as an example to show the type of people that they want on their team to help influence the masses. It's not, it's not somebody that's not somebody you would think will have anything to do with the government. Cause like, why would the government care about art, right? But it's about controlling the people, controlling the thoughts, controlling the narrative, mind control. That's what it is about. It's just to show you now what's been the main topic of her discussion. It's been culture, which is what these cats name their whole albums, right? I know the brother is passed on. Rest in peace to the brother. But y'all know how I do. I mean, anybody who follow my channels, y'all know how I am. Y'all know I don't believe none of that shit. Especially when I'm seeing all these signs, shooting the 7, hiding the hand, finger on the lips. Man, let's go. 2 fingers right. Man, come on, man. Look here, I wasn't even trying to do this, but check it out. He got the devil horns right there, right? Shooting the 7, right there, right? Finger to the chin, right there, right? Yeah, I mean they finger to the lips, right there, right? I mean, you understand what I'm saying? Devil horns right there, right? Like, it is what it is, people. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these y'all heroes, and that was my point in showing y'all how Jackson Pollock is a hero to a lot of artists. He's a CIA asset. You see what I'm saying? So watch this. Keep going.
At its peak, the Congress for Cultural Freedom had offices in 35 countries, employed hundreds of personnel, published over 20 prestige magazines, including its flagship Encounter, held art exhibitions, owned a news and features service, organized high-profile international conferences, and rewarded musicians and artists with prizes and public performances. To avoid another list, amongst these were the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Abstract Expressionism, the Mozarteum Akademie Orchester of Salzburg, Tanglewood Music School, International Pen, the Philharmonica Hungarica, the film versions of Animal Farm in 1984.
All right, so you heard us say the film versions of Animal Farm, right? And in the movie 1984, which that movie at 1984 is very prevalent. You know what I'm saying? Very important to right now. But she mentioned Animal Farm, which brings me to this video I did a few months ago. It's about the C.I.A. All right, Pete.
Getting back to Animal Farm, after Animal Farm, they begin to believe that they could simply plant messages into the movies themselves. And you say, well, what kind of messages do they plant? A lot of them are, like I said, like the Jerry Lewis thing, where they involve international relations, that they don't want to go bad. However, they also, like a movie like The Caddy, another Jerry Lewis movie, they have an entire program of planting clean-looking Negroes, quote unquote, throughout the movies, and even in golf tournaments, places where they are not in American society.
All right, so you see, they in the movies too. Okay, that's my point, and I don't want to keep playing this because I already did this goddamn video. You can go watch that after you go watch this. But he go in to talk about what they did in the movies and how they plant messages in the movies. Same thing that the lady is speaking about in this whole point of this whole thing, the Congress for Cultural Freedom. They attempting to influence the people. You understand what I'm saying? That's all the C.I.A. is. And just to say that, obviously they ain't shit. All right? And let me finish with this.
Metropolitan Opera, Berlin Cultural Festival, and many, many other organizations and events were indirectly, and whether they knew it or not, and whether they liked it or not, linked to the Congress for Cultural Freedom or indeed other fronts run by the C.I.A. This prolific activity made the Congress for Cultural Freedom a compelling feature of Western cultural life.
So you heard a compelling feature in Western cultural life. You know what I'm saying? When they say Western cultural life, they're talking about the United States of America. All right? Controlling our narrative, controlling what we think, essentially. Mind control. All right? And they did it in entertainment in all shape, form, and fashion. Okay? Now, this last little bit right here is the whole reason, pretty much what made me want to do this. Even though she go in through that whole hour. So, I mean, I suggest you go watch. It's pretty interesting. But listen to what she says right here. Check it.
For the CIA, the Congress, codenamed QK Opera, was the prize in its propaganda assets inventory, a register of the fronts on which it knew it could rely. Known unofficially as Wisner's Wurlitzer, after Frank Wisner, head of the Office of Policy Coordination, the nickname reveals the agency's perception of how these assets were expected to perform. At the push of a button, Wisner could play any tune he wished to hear across the world. At the push of a button, Wisner could play any tune he wished to hear across the world. At the push of a button, Wisner could play any tune he wished to hear across the world.
At the push of a button, could play any tune he wants to hear. So that means they controlled the distribution of the entertainment as well as the entertainers themselves. So if they had that then, why y'all don't think they got that now? Especially when everything nowadays is centralized on the internet. And we all know the internet was started by the government in the first place. Okay? So, just putting it out there, show you how these people been playing us this whole time. All these people we look up to as our entertainers, you know, the actors, the rappers, the whatever else, all of them, well, I ain't gonna say all of them, obviously not all of them. The majority of them, especially the major ones, all got a battery in their back. All right. So watch these 2 videos that I did. Right, showing that point. This one and this one, CIA in pop culture, and CIA in rap. And listen to this last little thing she says, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Leading one commentator to conclude that before very long, every political society, philanthropic trust, college fraternity, and baseball team in America will be identified as a front for the Central Intelligence Agency.
Ain't that a bitch? Boy, somebody doing something slick downtown. It's got me wondering